Hello, I'm Claire, and I'm part of the Meridian Trust Communications team. Welcome to part 2 of this Meridian Trust online learning module. Today we'll cover the topic of maximising your content on social media. Let's begin with the learning objectives for this session. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to understand different types of content and how it can be used most effectively, recognise what great content looks like, have some tools to help elevate your own content, and finally, you should know a little bit more about social media analytics and how it can help you refine what you're doing. Today we'll take you through types of content so that you're aware of the various options you have when it comes to posting, best practice, including examples of before and after we've implemented some of our top tips, elevating your content so that your visuals really connect with your audience, and measuring success, how you can use analytics to continually improve your content. This session is aimed at members of staff in leadership or middle leadership positions across our schools, or staff with a responsibility for delivering communications in their school. Let's take a moment to understand why it's important to make the most of your content on social media, and why a picture paints 1,000 words. Studies show that our brains are much faster and effective at processing information if it's visual. Video is particularly effective, generating 3 times more engagement than plain text content. A study showed that brands reported a 65% increase in engagement when they started posting photos and videos on their Facebook timelines. Parents are busy people who get bombarded with a lot of information throughout the day. So it's important that your content is able to cut through that noise and reach them effectively. Scroll-stopping content is what we're aiming for. You might remember the 3 E's from our previous session, but let's remind ourselves what great scroll-stopping content can do for your school. It can engage current and prospective parents and staff with your school values, aims, and events. It can elevate your school's credibility, and it can empower your followers to become your advocates and ambassadors. So if you're not creating and posting compelling content, then you're missing a trick. Before we take a closer look at different types of content, a quick reminder to think about your school's specific communication strategy when you're planning, creating, and posting content on social media. It should complement your overarching goals and mirror what you're doing elsewhere with your communications. In the previous session, we discussed social media platforms and the types of content best suited to them. Now let's take a closer look at the types of content you might want to share with your audience and why. Images are incredibly powerful. They can capture emotion and convey messages in a way that words often can't, so use them to make your social media posts compelling. Video is now the most engaging type of media. The dynamic nature of it keeps viewers visually stimulated and absorbed, preventing boredom or distraction. Video is great for information retention and is highly shareable. So for a deeper connection with your audience, think about video. Graphics are brilliant for simplifying information, particularly if you're short on photos or images. Consider using graphics to promote upcoming events, share vacancies, or to celebrate awards. A well-designed graphic will stop the scroll and catch the attention of your audience. Written copy is required for any social media post, but you may lean on words more than visuals if your post relates to a serious topic or you need to convey some more details. Bear in mind that most platforms have character limits and attention spans are low, so aim to keep written copy short and sweet. To ensure that your social media content is compelling and effective, you should commit to these basic best practices. We call this the PEACH principle, and great content always ticks these boxes. P. Content should be positive and not too operational. Remember, this is a marketing tool, a shop window for your school, so keep it celebratory wherever possible. E. Content should be engaging and relevant to your audience. So think about who your audience is and what they might want to see. Make sure there's a mechanism for two-way communication with your audience. A. Accessibility is really important. Removing barriers and ensuring equal access for all audiences is becoming ever more critical. More on this later. C, consistency is rewarded on social media. The algorithm loves it, and audiences tend to trust and rely on pages with a consistent approach and a consistent tone of voice. H, high quality content is what we're aiming for. So ask yourself, is it relevant, useful, interesting, and inspiring to my audience? Let's take a closer look at what we mean by accessible content. Simple language. Bear in mind that audiences have varying literacy levels and abilities. So try not to use overly technical language or acronyms that aren't widely understood. Use colour contrast to ensure that your visuals are as easy to read as possible. You want people to be able to see your content, no matter the device they're using or the quality of the lighting in their surroundings. Alt text can easily be added to images or videos when you're creating a post. You'll see it in the Edit Image function. Doing this provides useful context to those who are visually impaired. Closed captions or subtitles can also be added quite easily to video. There are several free apps and programs available, including Microsoft Clipchamp or CapCut. And finally, as a general rule, any visuals that you post on social media should be accompanied by some written copy to provide context. Never just post a photo or a video on its own. Let's talk about how to elevate your content even further now. Photography is an essential tool in content creation and something we're all used to, but it can be done well and not so well. Here are some top tips to help you take better photos. Keep your camera lens clean for clarity. Use natural lighting for vibrant results. Apply the rule of thirds for good composition. Ensure that your subject is in focus. Remove clutter or mess from the background. Try and capture some candid shots for authenticity. And incorporate storytelling elements to keep it engaging. And always check photo permissions if you're capturing pupils. Here are some examples from the Facebook pages of North Cambridge Academy, Great Ouse Primary Academy and Neen Park Academy. Can you spot how they've implemented some of our top tips to elevate their photography? In order to elevate your video content on social media, you need to consider these things. Choose the right orientation or camera rotation when you're filming. We're seeing a shift towards portrait orientation on most platforms. It tends to perform better on mobile devices, which are increasingly the primary means of accessing social media. If your video is likely to end up on your website or on YouTube, however, then landscape orientation might be a better option. Location, location, location. Try to avoid noisy areas or distracting, messy backdrops. Find a location that shows off your school in its best light. Video length is crucial. Try not to exceed a minute in length. Attention spans are low, remember? Prep. Whilst candid video is great, you should still try to prepare your video. Plan any key messages, think about the story you're telling, and if you're interviewing somebody, send them a brief so they can prepare in advance. If your subject is speaking to the camera, encourage them to speak from memory and not to use their notes. Scripted speech tends to look obvious, stiff, and inauthentic. If they're talking directly to your followers, get them to look into the camera. Eye contact helps with authenticity and engagement. And finally, always sense check. Is it relevant, useful, interesting? Think about your key messages and whether or not you need a call to action. Here are some examples of video content. These next video clips will begin playing automatically. Pause after each one to consider the principles they're demonstrating. You'll notice that one of these videos has been filmed in landscape orientation. This is because it features on the Meridian Trust website.
Hi everyone, I'm Rosie, the Science Learning Partnership Primary Lead for Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and also one of the Primary Science Leads for the Meridian Trust. The aim of our primary science curriculum here at the Meridian Trust is really to inspire curiosity in our children. Science learning begins right from the get-go in reception, where children have a wealth of opportunities to work scientifically.
Graphics are a brilliant way to maximize your content on social media. Once you know how, they're easy to create and they keep things varied and interesting. They can be particularly useful for events, recruitment, and achievements. Graphics can be super helpful when you want to convey detailed information but you don't have much imagery. Here are 3 design principles that you'll want to keep in mind when creating graphics. Hierarchy is about placing the information in order of importance with the key messages at the top. Negative space is about leaving blank areas on your graphic so that it doesn't look too busy. And contrast is what we talked about earlier. It enhances readability and makes the information easier to comprehend. When you get more confident with graphics, templates can be a great way to elevate them. Canva is a brilliant design tool to help you with this. It's free to education providers, and some of you are already using Canva really well. But we'll do a deep dive on Canva in a future session, as there are lots of great tips we can share. One watch out with graphics on social media. Because they're usually viewed on mobile devices, QR codes don't tend to work as they can't be scanned. So instead, use website links to direct your audience to any further information. Sometimes you might choose to reshare a graphic that somebody else has created. When you do this, make sure you're only sharing from a reputable source, and if you're not resharing it directly from the page you found it on, give credit to the creator of the graphic and tag them in your post where possible on the platform that you're sharing it from. Here is an example of a graphic that we've improved using some of the principles we've just discussed. Take a moment to digest what we've done here to elevate this graphic. Branding. When creating graphics, be sure to familiarise yourself with your school and Meridian Trust's branding. Try to stick to the same colour palette, logos and fonts in all the graphics you make to create a consistent, professional look and feel. The Branding and Marketing Hub on SharePoint is a great place to locate high-quality versions of your school logo and the Trust logo. So make sure you know where it is and have it pinned for easy access. We also recommend creating a number of templates using consistent brand elements throughout each of them. This will help to speed up the process of creating graphics for social media and will also ensure that your graphics have the same look and feel. While you're creating your content, it's important to be mindful of the reputation of the wider Meridian Trust community that we're all part of. Think about how you can highlight the vision and values that unite us across the Trust within your content, perhaps by using these as a hashtag or using the values icons on your graphics where appropriate. Could these even help to shape your content ideas and the areas you choose to highlight? Where possible, try to also include the Meridian Trust logo on any graphics you create to show your connection to the wider Trust family. Your profile is the first impression to those visiting your social media pages. It's important that it feels warm, friendly, and professional, and most importantly, welcoming. Make sure that you have recently updated your cover or header photo, and that you have chosen a photo which is professional and high quality. Ideally, this photo should include a person, be that a member of staff or students, to make it more engaging. Your page should also have a clear and well-fitted profile photo. Usually, this is your school's logo or the icon of your school's logo. Profile photo sizes change depending on the platform you're uploading it to, so pay attention to the measurements and ensure the logo fits nicely in the shape provided. Your page should have an up-to-date bio. This should give a warm, friendly introduction to the school, ideally referencing your values or mission or vision statements. Your bio should also include your contact information, operational hours, and geographical location. Where possible, if you have enough characters, also try to include a reference to being part of Meridian Trust here. Your school web address should be clearly displayed and accessible from your social media page, so that visitors can find their way to your website easily for more information. Several platforms allow you to have a custom URL for your page, which makes it easier to link to and find. On Facebook, you will need to set a username to do this. Try to keep your handles or username the same across all your channels to ensure consistency and make it easier for visitors to find you. Make sure that comments are turned on your profile. While it might be tempting to turn these off to avoid criticism, you will also be losing out on the potential for lots of positive comments and shutting off the opportunity for visitors to feel part of your community. Instead, monitor the comments carefully and hide or delete any appropriate comments as needed. If you post largely positive content, this will happen much less frequently than you might think. Now that you know how to elevate your content, let's turn our attention to how you can measure your success using the analytics of your social media channels. While analytics might sound complicated, a good understanding of it will help you to boost your page's engagement and ensure you're spending your time as wisely as possible. Here we have an ideal cycle of content creation. I imagine that many of you will be stuck in the first circle of this loop, continuously creating new content and sharing it with your audience. While this is often the most fun and exciting part of managing social media pages, we've all heard Albert Einstein's famous line, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results." Spending just a little more time reviewing your analytics and adjusting your content plan accordingly will help you to maximize the time you're putting in, ensuring that you're making more of the content your audience loves and less of the content they're not engaging with. At least once a half term, try to schedule 15 minutes to look through the analytics of your pages to understand which posts have been the most successful, why you think this might be, and how you can adapt your future content to maximize this. For example, if your most popular post of the half term was a video, perhaps you could try to create more video content during the next half term. Or if your most popular post had a question which encouraged parents to comment with their answers and you received lots of comments, perhaps you could find a way to take this approach again in another upcoming post. So what should you be looking for when you're reviewing the analytics of your social media pages? The 3 terms you should be looking out for are reach, impressions, and engagement. Reach and impressions. These two are very similar, but it's important to think of reach as the number of unique people who see your content. In a perfect world, every one of your followers would see every piece of content you post, but in reality, not all of your followers will see every single post you publish. Think of impressions as the content delivered to someone's feed. One person could have multiple impressions of a single piece of content. For example, if one follower saw a post 3 times, that would count as 3 impressions. But since it's the same follower, reach would equal 1. Engagement is the most sought after of all metrics on social media. It reflects the total number of interactions your post has received from your audience. This includes likes, comments, shares, and saves. When you're comfortable with these basics, we would recommend you start to delve deeper into the analytics available to you. This includes reviewing the days and times when your audience are most active to help you get your content in front of more people. Most platforms have easily accessible insights or analytics to help you see the reach, impressions, and engagement of your posts in a digestible format. Here, you can see the metrics available on Facebook. And if all of this feels too much, just start by looking at which of your posts are receiving the most likes and comments, and build up slowly from there. That's all we have time for in today's session, but I hope you enjoyed learning more about maximising your social media content. If you take away one thing from this session, we hope it will be peach. Remember, your content needs to be positive, engaging, accessible, consistent, and high quality. This online learning module is part of a social media series. Next time, we'll go through the basics of paid social media advertising, something that can be really valuable for pupil recruitment. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions about this module, or you'd like some help putting this into practice in your school, please don't hesitate to contact us via communication@meridiantrust.co.uk. Thank you.